Hey, what's up? I'm just chilling, just creating world peace. No, but for real, I'm just chilling, creating world peace right now. So, I do want to talk to you about world peace today. Today, I met with a client, and I just never get over how beautiful and inspiring and surprising my clients are to me. They often are very smart and ask tough questions. So one of the first questions that this client asked me was, why do you do what you do? And if you haven't watched too many of my videos, maybe you don't know this about me yet, but I sort of have a habit of just talking and seeing what comes out of my mouth. And I never really know what's going to come out until it comes out. So I'm standing there in front of this guy, and he's totally an engineer, and he's eyeing me skeptically, suspiciously. And out of my mouth comes, I do this to create world peace, which is absolutely true, but I full well hear that that sounds insane and so trite and so naive, which I honestly don't think I am any of those things. So, I start to elaborate what that means for me and how I believe that world peace becomes possible when each and every individual starts to take ownership of their own darkness, their own shadows, the own war that exists within them. You have that beautiful daydream idea and then smack it down. Or you restrict your voice because you fear being judged. You don't want to confront somebody and cause a conflict, so you just harm yourself or overly compromise yourself, what you value, what your needs are, what your wants are. Or the many other ways that we on a daily level really cause harm to ourselves and prevent ourselves from living in a state of peace. And I believe that as each individual begins to take more ownership for the peace within their own heart, then we can have more peaceful communities, and then we can have more peaceful cities, and then we can have more peaceful world. And I shared that vision. Shockingly, he didn't run away. But what he did do was press me further. Again, he's an engineer, so he asked me, well, I imagine that at some point you need exponential progress. Because if this is just a one-to-one relationship, for example, you and I are chatting one-to-one in life activation, which is a powerful energy healing, I believe, for bringing in world peace, is just one-to-one. Like, you're just going to have linear growth, right? Which is very slow. And eventually, in order to create real change in humanity and in the population that's currently in existence on Earth, you will need exponential change and growth. And if that's all just mediated one-through-one in life activation, that's going to be a pretty limiting factor. And I was like, oh man, such a good question. But I had some answers for him. I don't know if I have the answer for him, but I have some answers for him. And so one answer, I'm just going to give you one of the answers that I gave him, was that when I change, I don't just change in isolation. I change in relationship to all of the people, all of the connections, the relationships, even the people that perhaps I employ or I touch, not necessarily in a client relationship or in an intimate or personal friendship, but, let's say I'm a CEO of a company. All of my employees are going to be affected by any sort of change that I make, whether it's positive or negative. Even in my own personal life, it's still going to be reflected in my performance in the company. And of course, if I then take great initiative to become extremely peaceful, that peace is just going to radiate out into my life, into my business. And for that reason, people in positions of power have an immense ability to positively create peace in this world. And even if you're not a CEO of your company, you still have a huge amount of effect. For example, I remember, so this world peace thing, it's not new. A year or two ago, I was creating goals for a class that I'm taking, a Kabbalah class, and my friend asked me one of my goals, and I said, well, I'm gonna put down world peace because, like, why not? And then she asked me, well, what about peace within your family first? And without thinking, my first response was, that's impossible. And then I heard myself. And I felt the reality of my limiting beliefs about what's possible for my family. And I looked at her and she was like, Julie, if you don't think that your family can have peace, like, how could we ever have world peace? And I saw that really I needed to start to let go of some beliefs that I had about who my family was and how we interact with each other. And sure enough, although I'll offer life activation for my father until the day that I die, and he probably will never take me up on him, although I'll leave it open, perhaps he will take me up on it. We never know, people change. He's still changed vastly, and he's changed because I've changed, and he and I are in a relationship with one another. And when I begin to let go of my judgments, my preconceived notions about who he is and how we are, and also as I begin to gracefully and compassionately articulate my needs and wants, stand up for myself, assert myself, navigate conflict with greater mastery, self-mastery, he has no choice but to change in relationship with me. And it's been really inspiring. So in that way, even the one-to-one linearity of life activation can create crazy shifts because each person doesn't stand alone but has so many people in their life that they impact and affect. And there is no downplaying the ability of each of those individuals to positively affect their whole network in a manner that truly is exponential. So, how far away is world peace? I don't know. That's okay. I'll work for it whether I see it or not. But potentially it's not as far away as we think. Thank you guys.